This is the Extra Point Podcast. During this podcast, we will dive deeper into our Sunday teaching and share practical next steps for your faith journey. Now, let's kick off the Extra Point.
Hey, welcome to the Extra Point Podcast. I'm Scott Beha. I am the lead pastor here at Southridge Church. This is our podcast where we dive a little bit deeper on our Sunday teaching. Normally I have a partner in crime on this to interview me, but with it being Thanksgiving week, I'm coming to you solo today, and I'm just going to do a quick recap of Sunday's message, maybe dive into some of the stuff that maybe we didn't get to dive as deep as I would like to. Before we get going, make sure that you like, subscribe, tell somebody about the Extra Point if this is helpful to you on your faith journey. That's why we do it. Everything we do here at Southridge Church is to help you take your next step on your faith journey. And so let's dive in. This past week, we were in week 16 of Rise and Fall Part 2, which is our journey through 2 Samuel. And the point we were looking at this past week is that Christianity for a lot of people is very consumeristic. It's about what can I get out of it, and it's very also make me comfortable. And my whole point was this just isn't historic Christianity. Christianity was never that thing that you got involved with because it made you popular, because it made you rich, because it made you comfortable, or because it was persecuted viciously in the first 3 centuries, first 4 centuries, and still to this day, as you can see, even things happening overseas, even now, it's still being viciously persecuted. So being Christian was never something that was meant to make you part of the in crowd or make you popular or rich or even lead you into safe spaces. It was always something that was going to cost you. But what we've seen, especially in the modern churches, we have become more and more and more consumeristic, where it's church exists to meet my needs, and at the moment that the church no longer meets my needs, then I pick up my ball and I go somewhere else. I either find another church that I can try to manipulate into doing things the way that I want it to be done, or I just give up altogether. And my point is, this is not the way Christianity is meant to be. Jesus himself said that if you want to be my follower, pick up your cross, deny yourself, and follow me. So it's always been the type of religion or movement that was about saying no to yourself. Not that it serves the self, that you say no to yourself so that way you can serve Jesus, who is our King. And so we talked about how that mindset has crept into modern Christianity and how we really need to reject that. And so we looked at this story in 2 Samuel chapter 23. It's just a couple of verses that you find. In chapter 23 is listing sort of the accomplishments of David's 3 main warriors. They're called the Three. They were so prestigious, especially in the Jewish lore, that they just went by the Three. And so people knew them. They knew that what incredible warriors they were. And we just looked at a couple of the verses where it says that at one time, these 3 came to be with David at the cave of Adullam. And this was during a time that the Philistines were camped out in the valley of Rephaim. They had a whole garrison of people camped out in David's hometown of Bethlehem. The picture that the historian is writing in 2 Samuel 23 is that the enemy was everywhere, and yet these 3 men wanted to come and to be with their king. And I talked about how that's a picture of us pursuing Jesus, right? If we're Christians, if Jesus is our king, if we are in relationship with him, we can't let anything get in the way of us getting to be with our king. And I know it's easy for us to go, well, God is with me wherever I go, and that's 100% true. But making intentional choices to make sure that you are pursuing your relationship with Jesus is what I'm talking about. I'm saying if your morning is super crazy and so you don't have time to read and pray, when are you going to stop throughout the day and read the Bible and pray? When are you going to spend time cultivating your relationship with the Lord? If church has become optional in your family, it's like, well, yeah, we go to church whenever we don't have anything else going on. If that's the mindset, I'd say, what are you sacrificing for your relationship with Jesus? What do you like if you're giving and you're serving and you're attending and you're just the way that you're living out your faith in general, whether it be the way that you treat other people and the way that you forgive people that have wronged you, if none of this is like incumbent on you that things need to change, then you might be settling for a more consumeristic, a more comfortable type faith than what Jesus had in mind. And so you see these three men, they so badly wanted to be with their king that they were willing to even face enemies to get there. And so I ask you, what are you willing to sacrifice? Like, if you would say right now that you don't have a very good discipline of reading your Bible and praying, I'm going to challenge you. Find a way to make time for that as many days a week as you possibly can. Wake up early, stay up late, use your lunch break, do it while you're in the car drop the kids off on your way to the office. Here's what I know. It may not look like what you want it to look like. You might hear somebody else praise for an hour, or somebody else praise for 2 hours, and all you have is 10 minutes. Give the Lord whatever it is that you have, but make a priority of pursuing your relationship with Him, because here is what happens, and we saw it in the story. When you make a priority of pursuing your relationship with Jesus, of being close to Jesus, being where Jesus is, when you make that a priority, you get to hear what's on the heart of the King. He can direct you and lead you into ways that you can serve, into things that need adjusted in your life. And so when these three men made their way to the cave of Adullam with David, they hear David remark, not a command, just it's a desire. It's like, man, this is what's on my heart. He says, oh, what I wouldn't do for a drink of that water from the well at the gate of Bethlehem. Bethlehem being David's hometown, he knew this gate well, and he's like, that place has the best water. And so these men, by their proximity to their king, didn't have to be commanded, but knew the heart of the king because they were there. They heard it. And so it informed what they did next. And so that's what I think there's a lot of Christians that are finding a very comfortable path because you're not pursuing closeness to the king, so therefore you're not getting these the heartbeat of the king. And so you're not feeling like if you spent more time in prayer, more time in Bible study, your king might go, hey, do you notice that lady that lives across the street from you? I put you in this neighborhood for you to minister to her. Hey, do you notice that guy that sits in the cubicle next to you? I put you in this position because I want you to be the one to reach out. They're going through a really if you would spend more time with the king, you would find out what's on his heart, and you could find out ways that you could serve the king, just like these guys did. That's how this thing works. It's not just, well, I go to church on the weekends and I just go and do whatever I want throughout the week. If you'll make a daily discipline of being with the king, you'll make a daily discipline of finding out what it is that the king wants from you so you can go and serve the people that matter so much to the king. And so these men find out from David that he wants a drink of water. And so they go out and they essentially, there's no other way to, the text doesn't tell us that they got in a fight, but they had to fight the Philistines. They broke through, it says, the Philistine lines to get this drink of water for David. And here's what that says to me is these three men were willing to sacrifice to go and to serve the king. They went and fought the enemy just to get their king a drink of the water that he desired. It didn't put them into a comfortable place. It didn't put them into an easy place. It didn't put them into a safe place. Their devotion to their king led them to a dangerous place, to an uncomfortable place, a place that was going to challenge them. That's where your faith should be leading you, out onto the edge, out of your comfort zone. That's where your faith should be leading you. And so my point is this. I bet to anyone else that heard, like if these three men, before they took off on this mission, maybe what if they had a phone and they called home and they said, hey, guess what we're getting ready to do? Just the three of us are going to go take on a whole Philistine garrison. And let's say that they're calling their dads. Their dads are wise men. Their dad goes, well, why are you doing that? They said, well, David would like a drink of water. Their dads would go, wait a second. Isn't there a closer, more convenient well that you could go to? Isn't there maybe a safer path all conventional wisdom would say 3 men don't go up against a whole garrison, especially for something as non-essential as just a drink of water from a specific well, when there was probably closer wells that you could have gone to. So if they had told this plan to anyone else, people would have been like, whoa, wait a second, that sounds crazy. And this is the point. Our obedience to our king a lot of times makes us look crazy, right? Sometimes it does mean like, man, you're really sacrificing for this thing. It's really costing you something. That's when you know that you're actually picking up your cross and following Jesus, is when it actually begins to cost you something. And so, yeah, it looks crazy. And a lot of people throughout the scriptures looked crazy, to be honest, whenever they were being obedient. We talked Sunday about Noah, which is just a crazy story. This guy's just building this massive boat, and people are like, really? You think the voice in your head is going to flood this place? He's like, that's just this what I believe to be true. Like, it's kind of crazy, and it only looks crazy until the rain started to come down. And then there's even Gideon pares his army down from thousands to 300 when he knows he's going up against a very formidable. That looks crazy. Peter, we didn't even get to a New Testament example. Peter is in the boat. Jesus is walking on the water. 11 other people did the rational thing and stayed in the boat. Peter goes, no. I want to go out where Jesus is. And it's such a picture of stepping out on faith. Get out of the boat. Get out of my safety, out of my comfort zone, because this is what it looks like to follow Jesus. This modern notion of it being comfortable, of it being safe, this is not what Christianity has called us to. This is not the cross that Christ has called us to carry. It's not a comfortable cross. It's heavy, it can be burdensome, and it's not always going to feel really good. But the blessing of living in God, the center of God's will, far outweighs whatever it might cost us. And so these 3 men, they break through, they get this water, they bring it back. And this is the wildest part of the story to me. It just says that David poured it out. They would say, oh, remember, I want to drink from that well. They go and they fight the enemy to get the water. They bring it back, they pour it out. And I go, oh, my goodness, David, do you not realize the sacrifice that was just made for you to have that drink? Like, if it were me, I'd have been like, whoa, wait a second, what are you doing? I gave a lot to bring this to you. As I was looking at this part of the story last week, I was like, okay, God, you're going to have to show me something. And he said, here's the point. When your life is about serving the king, whatever it is that you bring to him, no matter how much it costs, you don't get to say how the king uses it. Right? So if you bring your life to the Lord, you go, listen, everything I have, all my resources, my time, my energy, my talents, it's all yours. He goes, okay, well then this is how I'm going to use it. And you go, that wasn't really part of my plan. No, that's not an option. It's he's going to see fit to do with whatever you offer him, however he sees fit, because he is the king and you are not. And so I'm just reminded in this story that the cost of following a king is very expensive, and Jesus is our king. And so it should not lead us to our comfort zone. It should lead us out of our comfort zone. It should not lead us simply to safety, but it should lead us to the center of his will. And we need to give our lives for the cause of Christ, because that's what he has done for us. One final picture in this story is, because when we're in the Old Testament, I want you to know how to see Jesus. And in this story, you can see Jesus again, right? These 3 men put their lives on the line to get the king a drink of water. Here's why Jesus is the better David. Instead of sending anyone else to go and get water, Jesus, our king, put his life on the line so the way you could drink the water that will never let you down, that will always satisfy, the living water that Jesus talks about in John 4 to the lady at the well. He says, I have this water that if you drink it, you'll never thirst again. Jesus, our king, put his life on the line, fought the Philistines of sin and death, so the way you could experience rivers of living water that will satisfy you. This is why it's worth it to sacrifice, to go all in your faith. Don't settle for comfortable. Don't settle for safe. Don't settle for cheap. Push all your chips into the center. Go all in. Live in the center of God's will, in the center of God's blessing, and you will never regret that, not for one moment. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at the Extra Point Podcast. It is such a blessing to be able to share this information with you. I really do hope that it helps you take your next steps on your faith journey. Here we are on Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, so I want to say happy Thanksgiving to you and all of your family and friends from us here at Southridge Church. We hope to see you next time, and God bless.
Thanks for tuning in to The Extra Point. Be sure to subscribe to the Southridge Church Podcast and tune in every Wednesday for another episode of The Extra Point.